This is not a movie, it's a real case that happened in Paris. Hey, I'm William, and today we're talking about the Louvre Heist. On the morning of October 19th, 2025, at around 9:30 a.m., a shocking theft took place inside the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. Several priceless pieces of jewelry and artifacts were stolen. Their true value is almost impossible to calculate. When you hear the Louvre has been robbed, you probably imagine a movie-style scene. Laser grids, hackers breaking into the security system, and thieves using all kinds of high-tech gadgets. But no, this time, the method was shockingly simple. The thieves used a construction truck parked on-site, a truck with an extendable ladder mounted on it. They raised the ladder up to a second-floor window, smashed the glass, and climbed straight in. Once inside the gallery, they broke open the display cases, grabbed the jewels, and walked right back out. The whole thing took less than 7 minutes. Even more unbelievable, this didn't happen in the middle of the night or on a day when the museum was closed. It happened in broad daylight while the museum was open and full of visitors. So how did they pull this off? Let's dig deeper and find out. At exactly 9 a.m., on October 19th, 2025, the Louvre Museum in Paris opened its doors as usual. As the gates swung open, crowds of visitors poured into the building, ready to spend the day surrounded by some of the world's greatest art. What no one knew was that just 30 minutes later, a carefully planned heist would quietly begin inside this temple of culture. 4 thieves, disguised as construction workers, made their way to the museum's riverside construction area. They wore yellow reflective vests, hard hats, and carried themselves like they were just part of the renovation crew. Using a freight truck parked near the Seine-side scaffolding, they climbed up a temporary extendable ladder, the kind that had been installed only for ongoing repair work. At the same time, another member of the group was already inside the museum, blending in as a security guard. He lingered near the glass display cases in the galleries, keeping watch while pretending to be part of the staff. Visitors even captured him on camera and later posted the footage on social media, without realizing what they were actually recording. On the second floor, the thieves coordinated with their inside man over radios. After confirming the timing, they went to work on a window. They quietly cut through the glass, padded the frame with blankets to muffle the noise, and slipped into the building. Downstairs, their accomplice confronted real security staff, creating confusion and forcing them to redirect visitors and clear the area. In the chaos, people thought it was just a routine safety issue. Once inside, the thieves didn't wander or hesitate. They moved quickly down the corridor, heading straight for their real target. When they passed by the room that holds the Mona Lisa, they didn't even slow down. They knew exactly where they were going. The Apollo Gallery, the room that displays French royal jewelry. Inside that gallery are crowns, tiaras, and brooches linked to Napoleon III and their wives. These thieves knew the layout of the Louvre like the back of their hand. They also seemed to know something else: that the glass cases in the Apollo Gallery were not as heavily reinforced as some of the museum's other displays. Once they entered the gallery, 2 of the thieves pulled out small fuel-powered torches and began heating the sides of a glass display case containing a royal crown. Within less than a minute, the glass was glowing hot. Then they wrapped the area with thick blankets and used power tools to cut along the heated edges. Sparks flew. In under 2 minutes, the glass came loose. In total, they removed 9 pieces of jewelry, including crowns, brooches, and necklaces from the Napoleonic era. The entire operation inside the gallery lasted about 4 minutes. They stuffed the jewels into their bags and retraced their path back out of the museum. After climbing back down the ladder from the second floor, they apparently tried to set the freight truck on fire, possibly to stage it as an accident and draw attention away from their escape. But staff on site reacted quickly and stopped the fire before it could spread. The thieves then got onto 2 waiting motorcycles and sped away from the scene. During their escape, they abandoned one of the 9 stolen items, the crown of Empress Eugénie. Maybe it was dropped by accident, Or maybe it was simply too large and too recognizable to carry without attracting attention. The crown was eventually found on a nearby street close to the Louvre, but it was already heavily damaged. Just imagine this for a moment. It's a quiet Parisian morning. You're driving through the streets near the Louvre, and you suddenly see a sparkling crown lying on the ground. You'd probably assume someone was shooting a movie. Only later, when the news breaks, do you realize that what you saw was a real royal crown, a piece of history that had just been stolen from the Louvre itself? The whole situation feels like something straight out of a Mr. Bean comedy. Except this time, it wasn't a joke. From the moment the second floor window was broken to the moment the thieves left the scene, the entire heist took less than 7 minutes. No hackers, no laser grids, no ultra high-tech gear. All they used were a few power tools, a blowtorch, radios, gloves, blankets, and some very convincing worker uniforms. Those tools were later found discarded near the museum, almost as if the thieves were mocking the security system of one of the most famous museums in the world. Fortunately, even though there were still visitors inside the building at the time, no one was injured. The Louvre closed its doors for 3 days after the robbery, then reopened to the public. Police reviewed every available traffic and surveillance camera around the museum, and more than 100 officers were assigned to the case. Experts quickly pointed out that this was almost certainly not the work of amateurs. The thieves seemed experienced, organized, and well prepared, the kind of people who might have been involved in high-end bank or jewelry robberies before. The case has been called a national scandal. France's president publicly stated that everything is being done to track down the suspects, saying that the theft was an attack on a part of the nation's cultural heritage and history. Today, the investigation is still ongoing. But one question continues to haunt people. In an age of security cameras, alarms, and advanced surveillance, how could the Louvre, one of the most heavily protected museums in the world, be breached in just 7 minutes? It's the kind of plot you'd expect to see in a movie, not in real life. According to the list published by the French Ministry of Culture, a total of 9 pieces were targeted in this heist. But because the thieves abandoned one of them while escaping, only 8 were actually taken away. They included the following. First, a sapphire set belonging to Queen Marie-Amélie and Queen Hortense, a royal ensemble consisting of a crown, a necklace, and a single matching earring. Second, an emerald jewelry set once worn by Empress Marie-Louise, the wife of Napoleon I, including an emerald necklace and a pair of earrings. Third, the crown and brooch of Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III. And fourth, a rare piece known as the reliquary brooch, a highly valuable, historically significant jewel. Among all of these, the most famous is the crown of Empress Eugénie. Created in 1855, this crown is set with 1,354 diamonds and 56 emeralds, and has been valued at well over £100 million. Tragically, this was the piece that the thieves dropped in the street while fleeing. By the time it was recovered, the crown was already heavily damaged. These jewels are not just expensive, they carry the weight of French royal history. Each gemstone, each engraving, each tiny decorative detail represents a chapter of imperial power and prestige. Culturally, their value is beyond calculation. But in practical terms, they are also dangerously easy to dismantle. Once broken apart, recut, and sold off in small pieces, even the most famous stones can vanish into the global market forever. On the black market, the total price of the gems might end up being far lower than the value of the original royal pieces themselves. But for the thieves, it would still be more than enough to make this heist worth the risk. In recent years, high-value museum thefts have been happening all over the world, and each case seems stranger than the last. In 2017, at the Bold Museum in Berlin, a massive gold commemorative coin was stolen. Investigators later linked the case to organized crime. In 2019, the Green Vault in Dresden was hit, and thousands of diamonds and precious stones were taken, vanishing without a trace for a long time. In 2022, a museum near Manching in Germany reported the theft of hundreds of ancient Celtic gold coins. And just recently, In September 2025, a gold bracelet belonging to an ancient pharaoh was stolen from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. It was believed to be nearly 3,000 years old. In the end, it was melted down into a simple gold bar. That wasn't just a theft, it was the permanent destruction of a piece of human history. Now, back to the royal jewels stolen from the Louvre. These pieces have very specific historical backgrounds and are tied to well-known royal figures. That makes them nearly impossible to sell openly on any legitimate art or antiques market. Even in the underground world of illegal trading, a complete royal crown or necklace with a traceable history is a very dangerous object to hold. So, thieves often turn to methods that are faster, more discreet, and still profitable. Investigators usually consider a few common scenarios. First, immediate dismantling and melting. This is often the quickest and safest way to turn such pieces into cash. A crown or brooch can be taken apart, the gold melted down into bars, and the gemstones removed, recut, and eventually sold off with forged paperwork. By the time these materials reappear on the market, they no longer look like royal jewelry, just ordinary gold and stones. The original object is effectively erased, along with its identity and history. Second, sell to ultra-wealthy private collectors. Some high-profile pieces may go straight into secret collections, owned by people with enough money connections and insulation to hide them from law enforcement. These collectors might live in places where international cooperation is weak, or they may use complex chains of middlemen to disguise the final destination. In such cases, the stolen jewels may sit in a private vault for decades, only resurfacing long after the owner dies, is arrested, or a regime falls. Third, using the jewels as leverage. Sometimes, items like these can function as bargaining chips for criminal networks or major figures in the underworld. They might be held in reserve as a form of insurance or negotiation tool in case of arrest or political pressure. Fourth, waiting for a reward or buyback. In a few rare situations, thieves may hold on to the pieces and simply wait to see if a museum, government, or insurer offers a no-questions-asked reward for their return. But in this case, that option may not even exist. According to a statement from the French Ministry of Culture on October 21st, the royal jewels stolen from the Louvre were not insured. Because of legal restrictions and the enormous cost of insuring such pieces, the museum had chosen not to take out insurance policies on them. That means if the artifacts are never recovered, the Louvre will receive no compensation at all. No matter which of these paths the thieves choose, the result is the same. The moment these pieces are damaged, dismantled, or melted down, history suffers a loss that can never be repaired. The original context of the objects, their authenticity as complete works of art, and the cultural memory they carry once those are broken apart and scattered, there is no way to put them back together again. The truth is, this isn't the first time the Louvre has faced a major security failure. The most famous incident goes all the way back to 1911, when the Mona Lisa itself was stolen by a former employee named Vincenzo Peruggia. He reportedly hid inside the museum in advance, waiting until nightfall. Then, in a quiet gallery, he simply lifted the painting off the wall, wrapped it in his work clothes, tucked it under his arm, and walked straight out of the Louvre. At that time, the Mona Lisa wasn't even as famous as it is today. It was this very theft and the international scandal that followed that helped turn it into a global icon. The painting wasn't recovered until 1913, 2 years later. More than a century has passed since then. Technology has advanced, security systems have been upgraded, and the Louvre has become a symbol of modern museum protection. And yet, in a way that feels almost ironic, the same kinds of weaknesses are still being exposed. Earlier this year, France's president announced a massive 6-year renovation project for the Louvre, costing hundreds of millions of euros. The goal was to deal with record-breaking visitor numbers and the problems caused by an aging building. But after this heist, it seems clear that security may be the Louvre's most urgent issue of all. In fact, the warning signs were already there. On June 16, 2025, Louvre employees went on strike, including gallery staff, ticket office workers, and security guards. They protested understaffing, overcrowding, and harsh working conditions. Last year, the Louvre received 8.7 million visitors, more than twice what the building was originally designed to handle. Staff pointed out problems like outdated infrastructure, leaking restrooms, and unstable temperature control. These issues don't just make their jobs harder, they also put the artworks themselves at risk. Even more worrying, many insiders have said that the museum's security standards have been far below what a place like the Louvre truly requires. As in many fields, spending on security and information systems is often seen as a non-essential cost. After all, people tend to think, if nothing has happened yet, why should we keep paying to prevent it? But security has never been something that only matters after disaster strikes. It is a kind of invisible order, an unseen line that keeps chaos from spreading. Truly mature individuals and truly mature civilizations aren't the ones who rush to fix things only after they break. They are the ones who can sense the hidden currents even when the surface of the water looks calm. Investing in security is not just spending money. It is quietly building a shield for the future, a shield that, if it works, no one ever notices until the day it fails.